this one for you. You have military officers dressed in body armor in vehicles that don't belong to them, and they rise on the scene, and you don't know if they're straight or if they're crooked. More than likely they're crooked. So they get paid after so many times of getting you arrested, they kill you and they take you to a hospital. Now is that proper? No, that's the truth. So if you're a young lady or a woman and you call 911 and an undercover cop, this one for you. You have military officers dressed in body armor in vehicles that don't belong to them, and they rise on the scene, and you don't know if they're straight or if they're crooked. More than likely they're crooked. So they get paid after so many times of getting you arrested, they kill you and they take you to a hospital. Now is that proper? No, that's the truth. So if you're a young lady or a woman and you call 911 and an undercover cop, because that is a safer option than for officers to be on the scene, because the sheriffs are crooked. I know firsthand because they tried killing me all the way up till 2020, 2021, on the 27th. I got away from them, went to the hospital, or started with the brick, and that's that. So as far as I'm concerned, the jailhouse is a bunker for in case the dam breaks and there's a flood. That's a contract that we did back in the 90s. And so anyway, getting away from that, don't call 911 if you're out there, because they'll probably lasso you and hassle you. So that's kind of morbid, because we're not at war with one another. So if there's anybody out there, young, old, and you see somebody that's a sheriff, they're supposed to be in that sheriff uniform 24/7, anywhere the fuck they go. And if they're not in that uniform, then I need to know on blast. Everybody needs to know that on blast, because they signed up for it. Who's paying them? Well, they've been trying to kill me for millions of dollars, and I see it through the hospital bills and everything else. So if you're on private property, they come in there and tase your ass, and tasers are made to start airplanes, shoot their guns at you. They're made to start your ride with the exhaust. And so, you know, the old law was a 75 mile an hour through the downtown city. Okay, well, grinding forward, back in the 70s, picked up, and there's a lot of these old vehicles that you think are new that are way old. And like the Ford vehicles, those are about $2 billion a pop. They're way, 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 way old. So don't you think it's about the rest of the world, all the nations in the world, of what they suffer, and how the Americans have been denying them credit? China, Beijing, Nigeria, Russia. So far as nationality in the world goes, it's like, I don't wish any sadistic, tormenting, cruelty, abuse on anybody. And if you dial 911, that's attempted murder, because they're coming at you with firearms and wanting to shoot you. Been shot several times. Point blank in the back with the taser in a hospital. Now, do you know how many lives that jeopardizes in a hospital when sheriffs come in there rooting into them, giving you potassium chloride and all kinds of dingling stuff with their little, they have these little monitor beakers with these little fine wires, sound waves, and they try to intimidate you and scare you. Now, there's good officers that are from, you know, the fatherland, but rookies that have never been to war or anything like that, you can't have brother, uncle, motherfucker, sister, cousin fucking butt fucking each other in the same goddamn company hut. It's not uniform, man. It's not proper. It's against worldwide rights. And if you're not at war in the country, it doesn't need to be policed by machine guns, pistols. Your weapons, it's not a weapon. Those guns, you start your car, you let the exhaust blow, you go out and point it to the ground and fire it off a couple times, jump back in your ride, as soon as you're riding, you go. It's not illegal. You know, people get this thing where, you know, everything's fucking hunky-dory, man. Well, the thing in the past, the Earth is traveling faster than it ever has traveled in its fucking entire life. I'm talking probably 15 million miles an hour, if you haven't noticed the difference. And with molecules and the atmosphere and the structure of everything, it's like maybe some of you guys are reaching for something and maybe not know what's going on. Well, the world, I've looked up my record and it's been deleted, and I see where Maryland, the law firm in New York, hasn't been notified. But I did visit with the president on Goose Egg at 220 with a bunch of black vehicles, and anyway, creating a new evolution. The new evolution is we're only about a couple weeks into a new evolution, but it was back in like 2021 was starting the new evolution. So I'm like crawling about a year old by now. I just barely had my first birthday. They had up to that time. Well, the federal bank that was built, records weren't supposed to be published, and they've been doing perjury, which perjury is leapfrogging and trying to evict somebody for cash money like a bounty hunter, which is false intents, and that's not right, especially on private property. Now, the public boldly sees. Back in 2020, I put out, hey, $10 million for every block. If you do it, you gotta go. There's people from out of this world that need to be obliged and not tormented. It's not about me or anything like that. It's about the new youth generation and them being able to take trust. Now, there's trust funds for these youngsters. They should be able to get in their rides. It doesn't matter if they're taught properly. Any of you guys that are old and fucked up, your ways don't work no more. Let the newer generation handle their cash, have their click. They don't need to be monitored by thugs that tell on people and harass people and hurt people's feelings and gank their cash. You know, let them drive their vehicles. I don't care if they're 5 years old. Let them go out and try to figure out that ride. I don't care if it's $100 million motherfucking ride. Go out and let them do it. And you let them do that shit. And you stay the fuck away from them, because that's creepy. They'll figure it out in their own clip. So like in the high schools and shit like that, you have people teaching one another proper, relatively manners, you know? I don't know what the new clique is, but I'm sure it's pretty cool. So, anyway, me and a friend of mine, well, trying to not start commotion, but war crimes are war crimes, and those are committed like back in the 90s, where there was about basically the Second World War was filmed. And I'm not going to get into any of that publicly. What we're going to try to do is we're going to try to be fluent. You're not out rooting and tooting, shooting up cowboys and thinking that this is that and another. Now, if you're on private estate, you have the right to protect yourself. So the club down across from the federal building I had back in the day, and got broke in by a bunch of undercover cops. Well, there's a pump down there, and there's a bunch of goddamn fucking boiler rooms that are hot as fuck. Well, sheriffs